chat. So yeah, if you want to download, if there's any issues downloading, just let us know. I can distribute after. So kicking off. The Yeastar Cloud PABX. So what is licensed? It is a users per month subscription platform. There is two plans for the PBX, an enterprise plan or an ultimate plan. The ultimate plan includes Active Directory, recording archive, video between Linkus users, as we can see here, call flow designer, and video conferencing. We will be going through the enterprise plan today is what I will be running up. So anyone else that's got it, you can bring up your system in that as well. The ultimate plan is the add-on license for the enterprise. So you can upgrade at any time. So you can bring your system up in an enterprise and then upgrade to the ultimate plan. Within the system, you can open up, and I'll show you this later, how you can see what the features are between the two. There's no minimum order quantity of users once the system's up and running, but there is a minimum of 3 users per PABX. So on your initial PABX in your build, it's a 3 user minimum to bring your system up. After that, you can add 1 user, 2 user, 5 user, 10 users, whichever you want to do after that, but it is minimum 3 to start your system. Every PBX comes with 500 minutes of recording free per month. So this is included in your PBX. You can add additional recording minutes in blocks of 1,000. What happens is if you request additional recording minutes, we will assign this to your reseller account. You can then split and distribute across any of your other systems as you see fit and required. Again, 500 minutes per month is included. And when we bring this up, I'll show you where that is. And yes, after that, you can add. For this system as well, it comes in 2. So we have the Yeastar branded platform. So there'll be Yeastar all through the branding on your web client when you log in and on your welcome emails and things like that. There is also a white label which you can go to. This will allow you to bring your logos throughout your platform, so into your welcome emails, login screens, and various other areas throughout your platform. It does not change the icon of your mobile or desktop software client. So that will still be Linkus branded. And for everyone out there, Linkus is the name of the application for the Yeastar. So that is the mobile application as well as the desktop web software client, your web client, it's called Linkus. So in the ordering within this slide, we do have the 2 links. What we'll be looking at today is the cloud licensing request. So if you want to place an order through, you can go via this link. You have a project or client name, your dealer company name, your dealer code, name, position, contact email, mobile number. What platform? So is it default Yeastar branded or reseller white label? So where do you want your licenses to be? Request type is an additional, delete, and the other options here, set me up as a reseller, trial, not for resale, partner demo. Details, any other details and notes that you want to add. Submit that request. That will go through to our team, be processed, and then come through to us in the support team, where we will bring the request to life. If it's additional licenses, we will add additional licenses into your reseller account. You will get an email once it's completed, and then they will be added to your reseller account. I will show you how you resize this system and how you add them today as well, but they will go to your reseller account. We don't add them to your PABX, you add them to your PABX. So now into the system itself. So that's the licensing, basic intro into the system. Via the YCM portal, which is the Yeastar Central Management, this is how we can view our PABXs, add PABX, stores, things like that throughout the whole. This is the management application, YCM. This is where I'll be going now to add a new PABX. So if you all have your login, you can log in now. And what we will be doing is bringing in a new system. With that one, we'll step through other configurations as well as the upsizing and things like that. We'll go through where you add users, where you can do the backups, your central alarms, things like that. But YCM portal is the main page. So if you all have it, you can open up the Yeastar if you want to log in. Within this slide presentation, there is links on every page. So what we're doing will bring into a link. That link will guide you through. So for this one, for example, this is how to add a PABX. So if you're here, add a PABX, this will open, and I'm not logged in, apologies, over here. And it will give you the steps on how to add a PABX. Also some tips throughout this presentation to each slide as well. So going into the PABX, once you've logged in, first part you'll come in will be your dashboard. So if this is all a new site for all the users, for all you guys out there, this will be blank. There won't be anything within here. Once you start adding PABXs, you can start to see this will grow. It will show you what's happening. You can see your active cores, online extensions, and this is your full overview of your main login. So this is your dashboard, and this is everything you can see. You can go into resources, you can go into trunks, and I'll circle back on this a bit later once we have the PABX up and running so you can see a bit more info. There's numbers here because I have a couple of dem systems that I've done from other training sessions in here. Essentially yours, if it's new, will be nothing. You can go into the My Subscriptions, and we'll circle back on this a bit later on as well. So this just shows us what we have and what we can do, but this will make sense once we show you where you get your license, when you allocated licensing. But what we will do is go into Cloud PABX, PBX. So as I said, I have a couple of lab ones just here. These are just from previous sessions. What I'm going to do now is add a new PBX. So this is the steps that we will do to bring the PBX for our customer. So we'll go up here to add, and just highlighting again, within the slides, there is a guide that will guide you through all of this. So you have to give the PBX a name. Call it webinar, whichever the company's name is. You can see I'm doing the enterprise plan because that's what I have my license for. Extensions, this is your minimum of 3. Concurrent cores, 3. Core recording enabled. So as we said, the 500 minutes is by default. This is this here. The region where we want it to reside. So we pick Oceania, it's pre-populated. This URL is our FQDN to the system. So this is how we will be accessing the system. This is hosted by Yeastar, and as we can see, I'll give it the same name as my PBX name, so the webinar22.au.ycm.cloud.com, sorry. PBX version, pick the latest version. Group, we don't have anything with group. Commercial is trial or commercial, one will be commercial, and expiration date we do not need to set. Customer information. So this is adding our main point of contact for this site. When we bring a customer in, this is where the activation email will be sent to. It's the main contact for this PBX. So it is important that this email address we put here, we can access. This is where our activation key will be sent and our steps to activate the PBX. So if we're doing this for a customer and we put the customer's email there, that's where the email will go. Can we add and change it? Yes, we can. But if you put in here where you want it to go to, at least you know you will receive the email as you create. Okay, you can fill out the rest where you feel need. These are the 3 with the asterisks have to be filled. Again, make sure we can access that email address. Okay, so that's adding our contact in there. We come down to our options here, allow upgrade. This one here, allow passwordless login to PBX. This one here enables you. So once you create this, we're creating the PBX for our customer. If you tick this box here, you can use your admin account, which in this case is my CBD training login. to log into all my subsequent PBXs that I create without having to use a local admin. So I can look at it from a top level. So all my PBXs underneath, I will be able to log in as long as this box is ticked without having to add a login username and password. This is for us for top. This is your reseller level. This one here, allow passwordless PBX login for your service provider. That is us. So if you tick this, we can password login through to your system. This is your choice if you wish to give us the access. I will show you how we can set up. There's a very good feature we can use to maintain or do some testing with you without needing to do passwordless login, but that option is there as well. This one here, always, well, it's up to you, but I suggest you tick. So you can always access it from your reseller level. Once that's done, we can save. And it's added successfully. So now we can see it's up here. So this is the system, webinar 22. It's our plan, our capacity. So if we hover, we can see we've got 3 extensions, 3 concurrent calls, recording 500 minutes, and AI transcription 120 minutes. Active calls, nothing happening at the moment. The URL that we've created, the type, commercial or trial, who created it. So as we can see, training, that's me. No backup completed yet. And then we have the operations. So over here, if we set it up and then go, oh, we used the wrong email address. Customer information, you can add another here. Adding another here, in a second, I'll do one for you. Okay, so we can add another one there. So this may be the customer's going, whoops, I need to put mine in. We can add one there, and I'll show you how that comes into play next. PBX information gives us the overview of the system. So our serial number, again, everything we looked up here, down here. If you didn't tick these boxes, you can come into here to change the boxes over. Save that. Now the PBX, if we hover, we can see it's stopped. What we need to do is start the PBX. Are you sure you want to start? It then comes up and says, where do we want to send the activation email? So if we had the second one, and that's the one we need to do, we can tick that box. Confirmation. And then what you will get is your welcome aboard email. So it just says, welcome to the PBX. It tells you what your PBX is, what's next. So what we need to do, we have the PBX, we've created what we want, but now we need to activate. So grab your activation code, go to the link. Enter in your activation code. And then quickly it says it's accepted, authenticated. Excellent. So we've now brought our PBX, added our PBX, put our configurations in. We've got 3 extensions, could be 5, could be 10, but no less than 3. We've added the setup of what our PBX is going to be. We've named it, we've given out our FQDN, which you can now see is up here, webinar 22. Now it's coming to initialize the PBX. So this account that we'll create here, think of this as your super user to this PBX. So you give it a name, password as I created earlier, a valid email address, and this must be a valid email address. Sorry. Mobile number. Send event notifications to PBX administrator. So I'll put myself here. What this is notification. So we have informational, warning, and alert. This will email to this email address if the system was rebooted, if your SIP trunk is online, if there's an upgrade, as we'll go through today, where there is some security preventative measures, it will email these through to you. Next, select your time zone. Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra. Daylight savings, if you wish. What date format you want, I'll change that to that. And display, 12/24. Device name, so give this a name of the PBX. So this is what you'll see in your sender name if there's anything sent. So make sure this is a friendly name to this PBX. Region, Australia. Enable allow country code. So what we can do as part of this setup is create an international dialing code. Once this is in place and we save it, this will disallow outgoing international calls or calls to numbers starting with this. Now, what we can't do here is add multiple. What we can do in the system when it's up and running is add other prefixes. I've had requests that people want to add +61 and other numbers within this international dialing code. In this field, it will not allow me to add multiple. Once the system's up, we can add multiple. So more can be added. So from a default, I put this in, and once we go through today, and if I don't at the end, please just highlight it to me and I'll show you where it is. We can add other prefixes as well. Once done, you'll get the summary. So it just shows it's all here. If any of it needs to be updated, you can click on the edit. It will go in, it'll allow you to edit. If you're happy with everything that's there, make sure you know your username and your password. And to save and activate, we hit reboot. Tells you here, you must reboot your device. You want to reboot. And the system is now rebooting. So we've added our PBX. We've activated our PBX. Everything's come up. We've now given it our initialization. So we're creating a super admin to log in with. Once this is up, because we tick that box, I will log in with my super admin. We can also go via passwordless. So I'll show you those two there. Once this is up, this is then the PBX. So no configurations done. The beauty of Yeastar is via a default, once we start adding things in, there is default routes, default ins, default outs. So the system becomes pretty functional pretty quick in the next couple of steps. But from here, we just need to get it into its initialization, let it come up, and for the next 2 minutes, we just wait till it boots back up. What we will do is once it's up is I'll bring a SIP trunk in. Now this SIP trunk that I will be bringing into the system is just an Access 4 SIP trunk from us. I will just do the basics of adding the system, not going through all the ins and outs of SIP headers and things like that. We will have a course that would go more into the trunking. It will show you an WebRTC trunk, SIP peering trunk, and go through the in-depth configurations of the SIP trunk. What I will do is just show you how to put your SIP trunk in and see that it comes to life. Via here, there is 2 guides, a generic SIP trunk configuration guide and an Access 4 SIP trunk guide. So you can click on these links and it will give you the step-to-step to add these in. And it's still rebooting. So has anyone else been playing along? Does anyone need me to have got stuck on something? Cool. It is now rebooted and started. From the YCM portal, I can see that the system's online. I've got my URL and I can see we are there. This one here, you can see it's stopped. So if you have a list, you can see what's stopped. This one here is running. Going in through the URL, as we can see here, I will use my admin account that I use to log in. Okay, and now that has logged me in. You will have your agreement. You can read through, review, confirm. And now I'm logged into Webinars 22's PBX via my webinar admin that I created. It will tell me what is part of this version that we've just installed and any updates, and it will log in at the dashboard. So from the dashboard, we can see we have none of 3 active cores because we allocated 3. We can't see any extensions. Nothing's in here at the moment. Over here, it tells us our plan that we've got. So Enterprise or Ultimate, transcription and recording. So it gives you a view of your use so you can see what's happening. Backups, if you got it scheduled, which will show blocked IPs, emergency numbers. So this is stuff I'll show you where this is in the system, but this dashboard is for this PABX at this level. If I was to log out of Webinar Admin, just to show you, when you log in at YCM at your reseller level, so for mine, CPD training, we can see all of our PABXs. Using that passwordless login, I can just select the URL. Because it's the first time I'm logging in from this, I do have to accept the agreement again. And it shows me what's in the system. And then as we can see, passwordless. So I've logged in this from my reseller level from YCM. So I can log into any of my systems from my high level. So I don't need to have an admin account for each. You create it in your, when you initialize a PABX, but you can also log in as passwordless. So either way which you log in, you can go through the system. As said, through the dashboard, you can see up here is any alarms that are attached with the system. So it's just telling us we've done a system upgrade, it's rebooted, and we've logged in and we've logged in. So that's our PABX. We've added it, we've activated it, we've initialized it, we've come in, and this is our open dashboard. Nothing else is set yet, so there's nothing else happening, no numbers, no active calls or anything. So what we will do is I will go into and create a trunk. Now, we're going through this through training. You can create whichever way you do. This is not a set way that you have to do. You don't have to do your trunks, and you don't have to follow the exact steps that I'm doing. I'm doing them just in this way for a bit of flow of what we're going through today. Again, your PABX, you can create it in your way, but I'm going to be doing the trunks, and then I'll go into an extension, then I'll go into a device, and we'll just proceed our way through. So first thing with the trunk, extensions and trunks, trunk, and we have none in here. So we have to add, give it a name. Well, we want it enabled. Template, so Yeastar has templates for PBX SIP trunks already within. You can go via the country and see if your provider is here. You can then select that. It will pre-populate, as you can see down here. The trunk I am doing does not, so I'll be using general, which means I then have to fill out these fields. So hostname IP, name, my username, application name, passwords, then you hit generate. Okay. So that's the steps of just adding the trunk. There is other tabs. As said, there is a course that will break down into these further. So there's an advanced tab. Oh, sorry. Advanced is with your codecs, your VoIP settings. Quick one here is qualify is your reinvites. Other settings within here. DIDs, DDIs. So we have to assign a minimum of 1 DDI to the system. This field here is where we add all the DDIs that are attached to this trunk. So if I was to try and add this trunk without a DDI, at least 1 must be entered. So it will warn you, so you can't not add 1. So I can add it in a single, I can add it as a range. So I'm porting numbers, DDI 1, and I've just added the 1. If there was a range, go to range, and see it adds them all. So that's our range. But we must add 1. We have other fields of the reformatting, outgoing caller ID formatting, and SIP headers. Okay, so again, we will go through these in further training courses. If you're looking at it from this level now and you're adding a trunk in, just here, it will have get caller ID from follow system, get DID from follow system. You can select what you may need in here. A quick one, and I'll just show you this. The follow system components are in the PBX settings, SIP settings, and you can see in the advanced, get caller ID from, get DID from. So those two that say follow system, they're following these two here. Again, we will go through more in the headers in the advanced courses that we do. So I've added the trunk. The status is registration failed. Everything's here. Why is it not registering? We have a big apply button. Nothing happens until we click apply. Click apply, you can see the status registering, and then it's registered. Okay, so remember, apply. You can create your trunk, you click save, it comes up, nothing's happening. Look for the orange apply. Nothing applies until it's happened. So you've created everything and then you send it to the system. So that's the trunk. As I said, this is just bringing up a trunk, showing that it's registered, making sure it's alive. Just going back, very important, add all the DDIs here. Now, if you don't add a DDI here and you try and call in later, it will just be rejected. It won't hit the system. So it needs to be in this field. So all your porting numbers needs to be within this table, or you can't put them in anywhere else throughout the system for any other flow. So you won't be able to add them to an incoming call route, won't be able to add them, use them for outbound caller ID. Okay. So that's the trunk. Just a simple registration trunk. Again, as we can see, the status tells us it's live. If we were to disable, okay, see here, disabled. Enabled. Apply. And then it goes. Okay. So we've created the PBX. We've initialized the PBX. We've activated the PBX. We've logged in to our PBX. We've gone through and looked at our dashboard. We've added a trunk. So now if we go back to our dashboard, we can see one of one SIP trunks available. Still don't have any clients logged in. We don't have any extensions added, but we have our trunk available. Okay, so we've done the trunk. And just put a little note in here. Your whitelisting, here's the IP addresses. Extensions and users. So what I'll do now is we've created our trunk. Now we need an extension. There's two guides here to follow. So more or less the bulk editing of users, which I'll show you, and creating and using part keys, just some guides. Our knowledge base is guides and it's growing every day, but these ones will direct you into there. It also has here, just highlighting, and I'll go through this, we set the extension to TLS, okay? There's also a secondary, which I'll show you now, for the TLS settings of these users. So you set your extension for the TLS, and then your subsequent devices will use that transport. So your linkers clients, your desk phone will use that. So adding an extension. Back again into extension and trunk. Extension. As you can see, we don't have anything in there at the moment, so we can add. You can do a bulk add, you can import, Okay, so first name, webinar, 1000, a valid email address, because we will be sending a welcome email to this user. A password. User role, I'll come back to this user role. It's a very handy feature. It allows us to assign a role to this user. What I will show you today is how we can then use it as an administrator, as a maintenance type of user. And I'll go through that in the maintenance part. And you got your language extension information. Important here, this caller ID. This caller ID is for your internal calls, not your external. You don't put your external number. Otherwise, you won't be able to make internal calls. We need our caller ID of our extension. Registration name and registration password. So this if we need to manually register a device to this user. So if we're not auto provisioning a user, which I will show you in a sec, but if we will manually, these are our registration name and password. IP phone concurrent registration. So this is how many IP phones we can assign to this user. So this is not your mobile Linkers client, your web client, or your desktop client. This is devices. So might be Yealink phone in the office and a Polyphone at home, 2. Yealink phone in the office, 2 Polyphones at home, you add 3, okay? So this is your IP phone concurrent registrations. We can assign outbound caller ID to the user directly, and we'll go into, when we do an outbound call, the caller ID for the users. Presence. So there is the 6 levels that we can have of our presence and what we want each one to do. So we can change our call forwarding. So if we're available, what we want it to do. If you went into away, you can handle what you want that to do in that mode. I'll show you in the client how we can change to these modes. Voicemail. Do you want voicemail for the user? Voicemail access pin. This pin is your access pin to your voicemail. And I'll circle back on this, but just raising now. This is a pin you will use when we're logging into a device in a certain, if we want to use it as a login. So if we want to auto provision a phone, but then have the user use extension and password to log in, that will be this pin. This pin also gets sent out in our welcome email, which I'll show you. Voicemail notifications. So you can choose what you want, send to. Got your options here. Your greeting. So you can do follow system, which is the generic greeting. Record new will enable you to record new. In greeting management, you can upload a file as well. Additional features for your extension. So what you can do, your music on hold for this extension, call recording. Okay, time zone it sits in. So we can assign a time zone to this user. They can reside elsewhere. We can assign this globally through the system as well. I've only got the 1 in there at the moment. You can. This advanced tab, this is where we set the user TLS. Now, I will show you, we can do this as a bulk change. So if we create all our users and we didn't change the TLS, we can do a bulk update after. I will show you this. So it's not like you got to go through each user. You've got 300 users, 100 users, and it's go one by one. We can do a bulk and change. Qualify, keep alive. So this is ticked. You have security options that you can do with the phone. Your Linkers clients. So as we said with the Linkers clients, this is you enabling them to have a mobile client, desktop client. So what you want to allow them to have, you can give them these options. If you don't want them to have availability for the mobile, you can turn that off. Same with the desktop, same with the web client. Phone and function keys, we will come back because we need to allocate a phone. We don't have a phone allocated to this extension just yet. So once we have it set up, we can look at our phone and settings. We can also do our function keys. So once we have the user, we can save. Okay. So that's our extension. We've created it. We can see over here online status, nothing is online. Once something does, we'll show. We can tick the user and we can do a welcome email. Okay, tells us you can, if you've got multiple users, select them and send them all in one. And this is what the user will receive. So they will get a welcome email, extension number, voicemail pin, QR code for your mobile, link address, how to log in, and it gives you all the settings here. So as we said, these voicemail pin also gets sent through to you on this welcome email. So this is your extension, and this is just setting up an extension, giving them the welcome email. So from this email here, they could log in, and it will kill me because I've got the other browser open. They can log into their web client and they can have the soft phone. What I will do is add a desk phone, and then I'll come back into the client because I need to log out of my admin page because it'll double me up and log me out. So that's the extension. We've sent the welcome email. We would now be able to log into our Linkers client. What we could do with this extension now is add a desk phone. So if we want to add a desk phone to this user, we have auto provisioning, phones, and here we can add. So adding the phone, what is the vendor? My one next to me is Yealink. My model is a 46U. My MAC address. Okay. Based on the vendor and model, we have a template. This is pre-populated from the Yeastar system. 2 seconds. Based on your vendor and model. My screen still sharing? Is my screen still sharing?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, I just lost my border. You told me it was. Thank you. Yeah, so based on the vendor and the model, Yeastar have templates pre-populated in the system. So this will give it its configurations of the device. We can create custom templates. We will go into that. But to build this one, we will use the template. It gives us our provisioning link. Authentication for the first time auto provisioning. So this is this option I was saying. If you leave this tick box selected, and it is selected by default, when the phone boots up, even if you're given an extension down here, it will ask you for the extension name and password, so security of it. The extension login is your extension number. The pin that's there is that voicemail pin. So this one here. Okay, so the phone will come up, it will say login, you will put 1000 and then 6372 to log this phone in. If you untick that box and select an extension, it will automatically log it in for you. Okay, so I'll save that and apply. Now, what I will do is just boot my phone up next to me. Okay, so my phone's just rebooting now. So the phone started, you can see the status, unregistered, my extension, my name, vendor, all those settings there. Over here, we can download the config file, we can send a reboot once it's online, we can even delete it from here. These settings here, we can edit, go back in and edit if we needed to, but once it's saved, we can't change. So if it was the incorrect MAC address, we would need to delete and re-add that extension, that device back in. The phone settings, so once it's online, you'll be able to change more of the phone settings within. And as you can see, the phone settings actually logs me back in through my extension and the phone tab. So this is only this phone. So there's other features within this phone that we can change. So my phone's just booting up now. Whilst it boots up, in this resource repository, these default templates, these are the templates that are part of the Yeastar. So these are built in. We cannot edit these templates. So when we build a phone, we can see here there's templates for Avaya, Cisco, Anvil. Keep going through all of these devices. So if you put any of these devices on, you can use this template. It'll go and the config that's part of the defaults here, that's how the phone will boot up. We can create our own templates, which I will do. We can also upload device firmware to send to the phones and image files through here. So I will come back to custom templates. I'll just wait for my phone to boot up. But yeah, just going back on it. Templates built into the system, we cannot edit. They are the way they are from Yeastar, and that's how they'll be deployed to the phone. Whilst the phone's doing it, I'm just waiting for it now. If we go up into here, whilst it's doing its work, we can see RPS request success. So if we look at that, we can see the MAC address from what PBX and the serial number. That's our PBX serial number. So I can see that the RPS request has gone for this phone. As it's just waiting to come online. Okay, we go into phones. We can now see status registered. It's giving me an IP address. And it's telling me firmware, it's online. That's all the information that's there. So now in my extension, we can see my phone and where it's from. If I had two phones, it will populate under here, or the public IPs it's attached to. It will keep on going through. Same with PC, mobile, web client. Okay. Yeah, sorry. So yes, it shows me that's where it is and where it's coming from. Again, if I had another one in another location, it will show me there. Because I've got 3 ticked, I could have 3 phones registered onto here. Now, with the mobile device, just so we know, it will show you that it's online when the phone's active. We use the push notification. So when the push essentially goes to sleep and it's idle on the mobile, it will go back to grey. So raising this, because you look at it, they've got the mobile app on, why is it not showing there? It's waiting for the push notification to happen. Once the push notification sends it out, the call's been registered, internal call they make, whichever happens, this will then come back up and show you blue and online status. Okay, so that's our phone. We've added it to the extension. We've brought that online. I can see it next to me. Excellent. What we could also do for our clients, go into our web client here. And from that login, it's brought me in here. You have to create a new password. Apologies, shouldn't have used the other part. Should have learnt my lesson the long way. Okay, so it comes into our login. And apologies, I don't even know what I just said then. There we go. Cool. And now I've logged into my web client of Linkus. What I want to do is here. Let's log back in. So this is our web client. We can see we've got all of our soft phone options here, what we can do with the phone calls. Once I've logged in, this is also attached to mine. So we can see what we've got here using the web client, call using web client or call using my desk phone. So we can choose our options through here. Our options for our user. Up here is where we can select the away business trip, what our options that we can set in the systems, and then what we want it to behave with as well. And the extension. So now when we look into the extension, we can see 1000, we can see desk phone and the client. So it starts to tell us who's logged in with what where. Okay. So I've set these users up. I've set the users up. I can see what's online, what's not online. I've created my extension for TLS, but what I need to do is tell the system. Enable TLS. So when we do this, to take effect, it needs to reboot. So I've done it this way just because I've created my user and I've tried to limit the 3 minutes of silence, but it will then reboot to deploy that setting for us. So what we will see okay. So in the web client, and you've got here your extensions, contacts. I shouldn't have clicked on it. Apologies, because it's gone down. Also reboots. Okay, so extensions and users, we set it as the TLS. Once we do it from the system side, there's a reboot. I do then do just a reprovision of the phone. If there's any settings with the soft clients on next communication, log off, log back on, I just reset the devices just to take. But if you do it from the beginning, before you deploy, it's in place. So we've just set up the extension. We've got the welcome, we've done the TLS. Once it's back, I'll show you a bulk settings change for the users. So what we can do is, again, say we didn't set the TLS, or we want to do a bulk turn voicemail off on users, we can do it in a group as opposed to one by one by one by one. So it's very, very helpful making changes on the system. Over here is the guide on bulk editing. So this is just a bulk editing of the buttons as the example through the guide. Same premise applies. Once we go into the bulk, there's all these options that we can change to bulk. So anything that's in the settings of the user, we can do as a bulk setting to subsequent users. Can be done on the phones as well, the same phone types. I'll be going through the users because I'll create another user once this is back online. Okay, so just whilst we're waiting, going back on it, anyone following along? Does anyone stuck on something? Is there anything anywhere? Okay. All right, so systems back up online, back into the extension. Again, we can see what's online, what's happening. We've set the TLS. We've got phone functioning next to me. I can use that. I can use my web client. What I'll quickly do is just run up another extension. Okay. Okay, so I've created my users. So I've created 20 users. And I'll go, didn't set TLS. So I've created all these users now and I haven't set the TLS. What we can do, go into the edit, go to the advanced, tick, save. Okay, so within the bulk edit, I'll go back in and show you, you can see here, bulk edit, turn it on, you can change the user role, turn it off. So you can pick what you want to bulk edit. And it's all the tabs that we have against our extensions. Okay, so in the VoIP, okay, apply, don't forget the big apply button. Okay, now it's changed to TLS. So if I had all those users, it can apply for voicemail. We can turn voicemail on groups. You select which ones you want your bulk edit to apply to. So it was just this one and the second one, third one, whichever one. So that's how you can do your bulk edits to your users. And just in there, as we we're saying, you can change what the settings are. So make sure you got a couple to edit. Okay. Pick which ones you want to bulk edit. So very good feature. Miss something, adding something, changing something, needing to turn voicemail off on a bunch of phones, which we didn't previously. Regenerate passwords. Do that via bulk edit. Features. Change music on hold for users, deploy it across those users. Call recording, could turn a bunch on, bunch off, however you want it to be. Clients and function keys. So you could do a function key bulk edit as well. So if you did this, you could assign these to the extensions, line, their left button, save that. We can apply that to it as well. Okay. So bulk editing to the extensions, and then that will then deploy. If you were to do the buttons, for example, and you've deployed it to your extensions against your device, you go over to here, reprovision. So reprovisioning the phone sends a request back to the PBX to pull any changes. Doesn't reboot the phone, doesn't do anything to the phone. It's functioning, it's working. It just goes and pulls that config and updates. If you're on a Yealink, for example, people that have worked with Yealink, when the config's happening, you'll see in the top right corner the red light flashing. So you know something's happening. So flagging this, that if you've made changes and you've sent it and it's not happening on the phone, the red light's not flashing, there's no changes being sent to the device. So it says you either haven't applied it or saved your config. But yes, Yealink, for example, you will see the light to confirm that it's changing. No activity, no change to the device. So that's just going back onto it, the extensions on it. We can do a bulk edit of all of the buttons or the TLS to the users. Going back on the TLS, you can turn it on the extension, but if it's not set in the system, it's not set the TLS. So we need to make sure that we do both. That's in here as well. It must be set in PBX settings, SIP settings, TLS. Okay. So this is the area where it's located. As we went through on the auto provisioning, so guides all here. So we've got multiple register handset manually provisioning. So if we had to manually provision That's username and password against our user, not the PIN, the voicemail PIN. Custom configs, which I'm about to go into. We can assign the devices to reside on a different VLAN as well. So if you're on a site, you want to push it out via a config that they need to be on VLAN 10, because IT wants them separated, we can do that. There's also here, phones not provisioning, how to release a Mac from the manufacturer. So this guide here will show you on several devices how you can release a Mac if the phone won't provision. But from the phone and its provisioning, we've just configured using the template. We've gone through to the RPS. We've talked, everything's configured and our phones come up. We've deployed a template from the Yeastar. The phone's up, it's functioning, I can configure, I can use. But there's a feature that I want to do that's not part of the template. So what we can do is in the templates, default, as we know, we can't edit the defaults. We can go to custom, we can add, and we can create a new template. So I'll just call it Yeastar. One. I would give the name probably more aligned with the feature, what it would be. What we want to base our template on. So we need to build it from something. So we built our last one from T4. This will pre-configure the defaults from the template. Template type, change it to advanced so we can read all of the features, give it a remark. So, oh, again, give it a reference to maybe the feature we're changing. Okay. And then we can change anything within here. So might want to change the time zones. So might be wanting to put a bunch of phones into a different time zone. We can do that here. Time format. This one here, transfer mode via function key. By default, this template's a blind transfer. We might want it to be an attendant transfer. Time zone, we said. Power LED for voicemail. We might not want the LED to flash. You may enable, disable. Missed calls, we could turn it off. So when a missed call happens, the red light on the A-Link, for example, won't flash. Distinctive ringtones. You can assign a distinctive ringtone for the device and deploy it to all of these devices. Codecs, LDAP directory configurations. Here, we can do a VLAN if we wanted to. Okay, and then there's the config file down here. So if we needed to add anything or change anything in the config files, for you guys that are familiar with the config files, this example is Yealink. It can be done here. This will then be attached to this template. So once we've made the changes that we want, we can change admin password, things like that. So once we've changed what we wanted to within here, we can save the template. And that's great. We've now created a template. How do we assign this to our phone? So we go back to our device. We can see the template it's using is our default. So going into this template, you can see template here. And now we can see we have another option. So we can choose that template, save it. Now it's assigned, but the phone, it'll start to pull and read. Here to re-provision. Are you sure you want to re-provision? And click OK. Okay, and now we've assigned the Yeastar template to this device. So whatever features we've added into that one will now be on this phone. So very handy with the custom templates. The big one is, yeah, you could use it for that forwarding, use it for the BLFs, time zones, allocating time zones to devices and putting them out there. So 10 phones are in WA, 50 phones are in Queensland, whichever, the rest are in South Australia. You can assign your time zones to your devices. Device firmware, you can allocate device firmware here for them and then push them out to the phones as well. But yeah, so just going back, templates that are within the system, we cannot change. So we cannot edit. So that's why we use these custom templates. Okay. So that's the system from the very build, we've created the PBX, we've created our customer, we've activated our PBX, we've given it our super admin that we created in our initializing. So we've brought it all to life. We've made sure we can log in from our reseller account. We can log in from our super admin account, which I am at the moment. We've created a trunk. We have it registered. And we can see that as we go in trunk, registered. We've created an extension. We've then made changes, bulk provisioned, auto provision. We've added a phone. We've assigned that phone. We've also created a template. And then we've brought our user. So this user now is an active user and functioning on this system. So from all this, what we have now is just very minimum, I suppose, of the phone connected to the system, extension on the system, and ready to function. Okay, so again, just coming back through this presentation, you have guides all through here that step through a lot of what I've just gone through as well in detail, step by step for you. Okay, what I would look into next is once we go in, looking through the system and just doing this in a flow. Again, not saying this is the way you have to build your PBX. You could do whichever you want now. But having that all live and active, I would then look into setting up IVR, ring groups, and queues. So I can add these in, add my users to it, and then I would look at allocating the numbers to them. So I guess I'll just take a sec. Is everyone or anyone following along that wants me to circle back on what they're trying to do in their system? Or everyone's just watching along? No? Okay, cool. So with that, into the system, now moving into the next configurations, we have in the call features, we have, I'll just start with, whilst we're in here, a good one, so I don't forget it later because I generally try and rush in at the end. Feature codes within the call features. These are the feature codes of the system. These are all pre-populated. We don't build these. You can go in here, you can look at what's set, check voicemail *2, call forwarding, call pickup. There's a good one a bit further down, which I will circle on. I'll highlight now, but we will come back to. But the business hours and holidays. So just keeping that in mind, there's an option here that I'll explain to as we go through today as well. But these are all the feature codes that are in the system. Okay. Into the IVR, the system by default and base build gives you, there's an IVR in the system. There's no ring group, there's no queue, but you'll see this IVR in a default configuration. The incoming calls will just bounce into this IVR. So from this point now, and we're going to go into it, but the outbound calls and inbound calls, the default route's already in place for us. We need to allocate to be allowed to use them, but they're all in there. So this one will be part of the system. In the IVR, you have your options here. Key press event. I think everyone here, PBX, it's an IVR. You've got your options, destination. You can pick where you want to go to by pressing 0, 1, 2, etc. Okay. You can add a time condition, custom keys. And again, we will be having more in-depth training on these, but to get you in, this is your IVR. Invalid input, okay? So it's an IVR that we know and use that we have now. In the basic, okay, there's a couple of options through here that we can set. This is a new one, Linkers client distinctive ringtone, so we can assign with our Linkers client, if we put a different ringtone on that, this is the ringtone that'll play for us for this IVR. You've got your options here. Couple down here as well. One that's just, I've had a couple come through. There's one here, dial to check voicemail. Why is this and what is this? Was just been a couple of questions. Let's quickly go across it. This means you can set up an IVR for the external parties to dial in and get their voicemails remotely. That's what this feature does. I just had quite a couple of calls recently on that. But this is the IVR. So we can configure an IVR. We can allocate a prompt and we will add prompts to the system and circle back and add it to here. So we can have custom prompts, greetings into the system. So once we've done an IVR, can't point it anywhere. I haven't got any groups or anything set, but what I could do is send it to an extension. Don't have any ring groups set, so there's nowhere for it to go. So we want to create a ring group. So we go into the ring group, we can add, give it a number. Give it a name, ring strategy, so you get your ring types here. Joint announcement, so you can have a message and announcement on entry. Again, we'll go through the prompts. Ring back tone, music on hold. So you can assign the music on hold to this group. Extensions, so we need to allocate the extensions to the ring group. So a ring group, once we put the users in, they're part of that group. There's one here, extension group. This is default all extensions. This is any extension you add to the system will drop into this group. We can add more extension groups, and I will come back to that. By default, this is anyone you add will drop into this one. So if you just wanted every user in the group and subsequent ones that you do for this one group, you can add all extensions, or you can add the extensions that you want. Failover destination, so if nothing happens what we want it to do, we can assign a time condition and we'll go through the business hours. So what we want it to do outside business hours, into holidays, okay? So with our ring group, we add the name, what strategy we want, the extensions. And that's our ring group. So our ring groups, we have the agent's part of it. So there's no logging in, there's no logging out of the ring groups and things like that. We're just in the group and away we go. Okay. If we assign the ring strategy to a custom in the ring group, and this is what we can do in ring groups and not queues, we can have the delayed ring. Okay. So no delay, phone will ring straight away. After the phone's been ringing for 10 seconds, we'll bring in there, okay? So for anyone that's familiar with, say, Panasonic, for example, that ring delay that we can associate into the groups, that's what we can do in the ring groups. This is not a feature of the queue. So this is where the ring groups are really good. We can allocate them and have those type of call flows for us. So there might not be a big company with a lot of users. They might have, say, 2, 3, 4, 5 users in the group, but we don't want them all ring at once. We can delay them within the ring group without having to exit groups, move to the next group, move to the next group, move to the next group. We can do it within for it to delay. From the ring group, we could go in, if it was in our IVR, whichever button you want. It gives us all our available ring groups. We only have the one, so pressing 2 allows us to go there. Okay. So that's our ring groups. With a queue, we can add a queue. We have other options with up here. So more advanced than the ring group, we can go a bit further in its configurations. Same again, ring strategy, but we don't have the custom. Can assign the queue with a time condition, so we can get granular with our time conditions. We don't have to do them all at the top level. We can get granular with how they go. We can let all calls come in and then let the queue handle our time. It could go to an IVR that we want to be 24 hours, but then the queues can be the time zone driven. Or the agent settings that we can do. Prompts, so we can have prompts within to this queue. So ringback tones, music on hold, we can assign to the queue. Call a position announcement, so we can announce your position, your hold time, thank you for your patience prompt, your repeat frequency. Members of the queue, we have options within the members of the queue. So we have dynamic, static, and our queue managers. So queue managers are managers that can view and manage the actual group of the users within. Dynamic agents and static agents. So if we have a dynamic agent, as it says dynamic, we can allocate logging in, logging out. If we assign a user as a static, they're in the group straight away. And that's it. They're logged in, they don't have the log out features. Okay, so that's just static. If you're a dynamic, you cannot be a static. So you can't be either, both, sorry. You have to be either. Now, if you want to have it as dynamic, logged out once you add the users in. So just give them the feature to log themselves in. Let's change in your version, but yes, when I've logged them in, they're not logged in by default. Okay. So with your queue managers, you have your options here. Notified manager with these features here. You can turn them off and on as well. Okay. You have the advanced settings within the queue. So maximum number of callers, you got all your settings in here. Request a callback. I haven't played too much with the callback yet. I'm still doing that in testing. So we'll go through this further in other courses when we go into a bit more depth. Priority queue, SLAs, and you can do satisfaction surveys. Queue panel permissions. So what can the manager have? Wallboard queue. So you can allow the managers to see these features. Agents, what do you want the agents to allow to have? Okay, so these are settings that you can attach to managers and agents of the queue. So if you save your queue, always don't forget the apply button. So setting a queue, I could assign it to an IVR. Okay. If I select IVR, gives me what available ones are there. Okay. So that's just setting up a very quick, but yes, a ring group. As I said, the good feature is in here. We can do the delayed ring on the extensions. The queue lets us get more granular with what they are. It is a queue that we know with other PBX guys what we can do with the queues. That brings up the stats and that into the wallboards. Yeah, so you can log in, log out. You can have static. You can have managers view them. Again, each ring group, queue, IVR can have its own time zone. Ring group and queues, we can assign our music on holds to them. So they can have their separate own music on holds. Yeah, so you can get granular with how you want to manage and control each of your ring groups and queues within the system. So yeah, so that's the intro of where we have with the extensions, with the phones, into the ring groups, into the queues, how we can create a queue, how we can create a ring group, how we can use an IVR to flow. As said, just going back, when you build the system up, 6200 will be in there by default. So that will then, once we allow, or once we turn some going into the next one, inbound and making an inbound outbound call, these can then route straight into this IVR. So a call will come straight into this IVR by default. We will change it, but this is there for us. So the system has the good features where once you start bringing it to life, things will start happening for you. It's not probably the optimal and final solution that you're going to be delivering, but it has it so you can get going. So what I might do is just park on that for, let's give it 10 minutes, 5 minutes, I'll come back online. Just give everyone a break. If anyone wants to go get a drink of water, bathroom break, grab a quick coffee, anything like that, please do so. As I said, I'll just pause it where we are here now. I'll do the same. And yeah, we'll come back. I'll come back on about 5 minutes or so. We'll kick off again in about 10, if everyone's happy with that.
Cool. Sounds good, Nathan.
Cool.
Everyone hear me?
Yes,
Not
yes.
bad.
Yep.
Well,
Okay.
I'm Colin. I'm taking over from Nathan, or we'll bounce off each other. Has anyone got any questions around what was presented earlier? I noticed there was a question around mail. Answered in the chat. So basically, which system were you using, Nathan?
Top one, webinar 22.
You see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So yes, you do need an email per user. If you have a customer that on email for all staff or something, and that's going to be an issue. What we've found is most providers support this, so you could just use the one email, but set an alias. Sorry. So it gives you a unique email address, but if anything's emailed to that address, it just goes back to the primary account.
Yeah, the main reason why I brought that up, because for example, I've got one client that I look after.
Yep.
For example, is a nursing home. They have over 120 beds,
Yeah.
which obviously their residents don't have email addresses, but
Yeah.
they're going to be an extension of the system. So that's what you're looking for.
But the email is just used as a login for your client.
Yeah.
You're just doing handsets. It's not.
Hey, I'm not actually sure that's actually correct. I don't think you actually need to have a valid email address. If you open up just webinar 22 and go to the login screen, I think you can actually use your test.com with the password to actually log in to the web
Sorry, I
page.
can't hear you properly.
Yeah, Jason, you can. It just has to be valid. It'll reflect onto, in testing I've done before, on the domain we're on. So webinar22.ycmcloud. Whatever our URL is, sorry. So I've tested that before. But yeah, you won't be able to send to it. So you won't be able to do a welcome to it, anything like that. So Cole, that was just, as long as the email there is on this, it'll let us log in. Or definitely you.
So the other, I think the last thing Nathan did was get access to what's that? Pop it in. And also the supervisor. Q panel. Log your agents in and out. Quite good. Not taking any calls, Harry. Right, so we did call queues. In features, Nathan took you through, sorry, excuse me. IVRs, ring groups, queues. There are other. So if you wanted to set up a paging group, phones or through system, you can create a group for that. Pilot number, set your extensions to page. Pilot number. Conference groups. So you have recording on the system. When you order a subscription license on this, you'll get 500 minutes of recording free. That's not enough. You can actually order in increments of 1,000 minutes. So for recording, we just set what we want to record. So if we want to record or if we want to record trunks, extensions, we want to record conferences or and also call queues. This will come down to we can also assign rights to a user so they can view all those recorded calls as well. Up a recording button on a phone to do ad hoc recording and right. The other thing is voice prompts. So you'll notice in that IVR and call queues, we can have recordings like so if we went to custom prompts, give it a name, load a file, don't have one, don't have a WAV file. All right, so we just upload the reading WAV file, is it there, and then we would select that WAV file from then the IVR. Other thing we have is voicemail. So every user has a voicemail box. If we wanted to use a common group voicemail box, say for the ring group. So the ring group isn't answered, or we want to use it. We want to send it the voicemail after hours. We could set up a group voicemail for group, members in for that. Basically, we're setting up a group mailbox. Yeah. use a bit of a trick to this. You set it for a ring group, a queue. I tend to go custom for one reason. You go custom, get the option to send it to email. If you set it to ring group, this is sent to one of these members where they check it on their Linkus client. So up to you guys how you want to do it. And you can set the voicemail email here where you want to send it to. All right, option here, play date and time. So it's up to you guys how you set that up. Yeah. Via Linkus, which members get that voicemail. The other thing we need to do is probably set our business hours and holidays. Default setting in here is just business hours. So we've set our business hours for 8:30 to 5, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Anything outside that is outside business hours. Our ring groups and our core queues and our IVR, if we're setting a time condition in there, this will be our business hours. Anything outside that will follow the thing to look for here is this feature code *99. So what we can also do is set a night button on a handset. Functions. Set. Right. And that key on the phone would then toggle between day and night. So we've got that set. Now there might be an occasion where you might have multiple sites or multiple departments that need to do different hours. Time zone, phone. in the sales group. Well, tone is quite notice up here in the feature code, that's changed from *99 to *991. Button. We'll set up a button. Set up multiple day-night buttons to do different things. So well, yeah, so we might. You can change the time zone there. Group will switch clock on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So business hours, we're going to send it to the group voicemail. After we've set up all our groups, our ring groups, our IVRs, so if we go to call control, inbound route here, hold and set to go to. So if a call comes into our trunk, at the moment, anything we're going to do with it is send it to that IVR. So we obviously need to do other things. So I'm going to give it a name. Might call sales. And what DDI is going to come in to make us route that call. So we need the DDI number here. And also set a time condition here, but because I've got a time condition on the ring group, we're going to route it that way. All right, so we've set this rule up. Can anyone see anything wrong with this at the moment? So our default route at the moment is Now, because it's above the rule we just set up, it's going to kick in every call. What we need to do is send that default route bottom. So rule is I'm going to go from top of the table down to the bottom, trying to match this pattern or the caller ID pattern of the route to the destination. Only when I can't find any patterns, I'm going to go to this default route. So big thing to remember here, whenever you set DDIs up, I caught myself doing it last week, couldn't work out what was going on. This default route needs to be at the bottom of the list. Like the fail safe, call comes in, I have no rules set up for it, what do you want to do with it? You can change where you want it to go. To an extension. In group a queue, we could send it to a group voicemail. So that group voicemail we set up before for the group, we could send it straight there. Now, in some cases, and I would probably do this if a call came in, number, and I'm sending it to the ring group. I'd probably be tempted to do the time condition here. So we select our time group there. So if that DDI is for the sales group, I'm going to send it to that group voicemail we set up. So before I set the ring group up and said, time condition on that, send it to the group voicemail after hours. So you could do it that way, or you could do it at the DDI. Might be occasions where all right, so inbound routes, you would just keep adding your DDIs. Well, yeah, match DDI range to extension range. So if you're doing 100 dial range, you could just do them all at once. Destination. Got a call based on caller ID. So the caller ID of the caller coming in. Just hang up. Got a malicious call, you could actually route it to just. In my case, if I ring in, I might go directly to. So it's pretty flexible in the inbound rules. Outbound rules by default. Up a handset, link this client, make a call. The default rule. Have a look at that. You're going to match any number. So that's what that wildcard there is. I'm going to match any number at that. Or at the moment, the default all extensions. Dial out on. What it's really built for is you might have multiple trunks here. So, you know, if you sort of Melbourne. So back up to this wildcard. They dial any number, not a number matched. I had another trunk and I wanted to, okay, any call I make to Sydney, I want to go out a Pacific trunk. I could take the dialing plan, so 02. So 02 plus 8 digits, full national number. Another rule saying 02. All right. Other thing here is outbound caller ID. Outbound route. So if we have an outbound route,
Cole, sorry, just a quick one. I think your headset drops in and out.
my headset,
Yeah,
hear me?
I can. It just sort of goes quiet and you can tell you're still talking.
Sing out again. I don't know what else I can do. All right. Outbound route, outbound caller ID. So this is a rule. It's blank at the moment, so we're not using that. But if I set up a Pacific route, and I want to present a Pacific caller ID field, also ID so here in general, to an extension.
Cool. Cole, I think we've lost your voice again.
Hear me?
Yeah, it just in and out, in and out.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's all right.
So I set that caller ID on the trunk to Pacific user, and if we go into the user, we can see the ID here assigned. You can assign multiple caller IDs to a user. Box allow selecting outbound caller ID. So from your Linkers client, or you can actually select what caller ID you want to present. Why? But you can. Any questions around routing? On business hours. So maintenance wise on the system, This is this option here, check for new firmware. You'll also get notifications up here occasionally saying new firmware available. Set the automatic upgrade on if you wanted to for new firmware, up to date, so I don't get a prompt to. Normally you'll get a notification up here, firmware available. I would suggest keeping the systems up to date. We had an occasion probably 12 months ago where Yeastar wanted to update this management portal, and there was a couple of dealers running on really old firmware. We had to force them to upgrade before Yeastar could actually upgrade their portal. So it's probably a good idea, you know, every couple of months or so, just have a check and upgrade your systems. They do go down, they do reboot, but they're down for like 2 or 3 minutes. No biggie, and you can actually schedule them to do it after hours. All right, on the system, we can also do a backup. Like what we want to back up, prompts, CDR data, phone books, and save. All right, so as soon as it's backed up, you get this line entry here. And because we're logged into the system, we've got the ability to download that backup, or we can restore from that backup. So this screen will just keep a logs of all the backups you've done. Got restore points to go back to. Also set a backup schedule, so you could back up daily, weekly, monthly, and just set a schedule on that system. But there's a better way to do this. Better way to do it is through your YCM, where you've got all your phone systems. Right, do all your backups here. So you can see backups that we've done previously, or from them. So we set that in task, schedule tasks. You can see here, this task might be an upgrade, a backup, a reset, provision. So we're just going to go back up. What we want to back up, so everything. Do that weekly. Do it on Sunday at 12. And then we can select what PABX is to back up. So you could set the one schedule, back up all your phone systems at a certain time once a week. And you just let that run. And then if you go to the you'll just get a whole table of all your backups, and at any time you've got all those restore points, you can just restore. Now the only difference between doing it in the YCM and doing it on your system is on the system you had got the ability to download that file. Site somewhere. The only time we use this is if someone's migrating. So originally we started with YCM, which is all branded with Yeastar. So all the logos and everything are Yeastar. Nathan's going to run through this shortly, but what we did was actually, we wanted to do white label for the resellers, where you could brand it with your own logo, etc. So we've basically got two YCMs. One's Yeastar branded, one's white label branded. And a lot of our dealers wanted to migrate from this to the white label. So that's where you use this. You can download that backup, go to the other YCM portal, which is white labeled, create a new instance and restore from that backup. That's probably the only time you really need to use this download. Other than that, you're probably better off just doing it in central management. All right, the other thing in maintenance, you can force a reboot, or you can do it in the YCM. PABXs. Restart the PABX here, or you can do it on the PABX by going reboot. There is a reset here. This takes it back to default. I figure a reason why you'd ever want to do that, unless you're just, you know, running something up in a lab environment, just want to start again. We have operation logs. So this is everything that changed on the system. So you can see here, you know, I did a backup and restore. Someone logged in as a user. Trunks. So it's a bit of a log of what you've done programming wise in the system. So if you made a mistake, you go back in and go, what did I change to make that happen? Important one here is troubleshooting. So we have an Ethernet capture tool. If you want to run this to basically pull a Wireshark trace, you just start, replicate your issue, stop, download that trace. Here gives it to you as a file, and you'll have the packet capture there. I'll point something out on this. Pass. All right, if you have a look at the IP addresses here, they seem to be like internal addresses. Well, they are, because what it actually is doing is taking the Wireshark trace between the virtual PABX, which is on for an AWS, which has a local address, and the SBC also is in AWS and facing port local address. So don't be too concerned about that. If you ever want to do a trace and send it through a help desk to help analyze an issue, we're not too concerned about source and destination address. More concerned about the SIP traffic.
Just me putting info, Cole, nothing else.
Hey?
That was just me putting something in for info, nothing else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you could see it, yeah.
It's just to keep a live packet. All right. Everyone understand that? All right, but a useful tool, because, you know, if you're trying to chase a problem with SIP, at least you get an understanding of the SIP flow. You can analyze the header. Don't be too concerned about the IP addresses, even though it is off-putting. You're going to see your registration, your responses from SIP carrier and everything. It's normally enough. Right. Other thing is system logs, right? Every day it creates a new log for the system. Download it. You can open it up. It's not going to mean too much to you. It doesn't mean much to us. The only time we ever require this is if we've got to escalate something to Yeastar and they ask for the logs, we send it to them. Probably the big thing I check all the time is this alert thing here. I think Nathan would have shown you this when he was provisioning a handset. And the big thing I look for is that RPS request success. Whenever I provision a handset, going to the RPS server, going, register this MAC address. Yeah, so every time I do that, I look for that success. If it says failure, it's usually because you're using a second-hand handset that's registered to something else. Flag it to you. So rather than do 20 handsets, none of them work. For this. It's also going to give you, alerts like someone's logged in, someone's changed their password, etc. The one up here is information. So big thing, if you're asking for licensing or anything like that, sometimes we might ask you for the serial number of the system or for escalating to Yeastar with an issue, firmware version. Licensing, so this one's licensed for a maximum of 3 extensions and 3 concurrent calls. When you order licenses off us, you're just ordering extensions. We match the current, we give you matching concurrent calls to the number of extensions. So it's basically non-blocking. The only limitation you're going to have for outbound, inbound calls is your SIP trunks. Okay, the other thing here, which more for your client than you, so you can give them access to this, is the reports on your CDR data, so you can see all calls that have been made. Same again for your recording files, which is exactly the same as a CDR, except it'll only be calls that are recorded, but it will also show be able to click and listen to the WAV file of the recording. For reports, right, it's got some built-in reporting. So big one might be down calls via DDI, don't see anything. Calls extensions have made. And you can schedule these. If I wanted a report of every call made every day, you could add the report here. All stats, pay, all extensions, and an email address of where to send that report. Daily, weekly, monthly. This rate thing at the end, you can actually set dollar figure that each phone call. So old school stuff. I don't think anyone would use that anymore. And with the Linksys client, you also have the ability to chat, so you can actually log those chat calls between users as well. I think the only thing we haven't touched on, security. All right, so the thing is sort of got its own built-in firewall, if you like. So we can, our IP, so basically we could whitelist certain IP. So if the customer, so because this thing's in the cloud, say the customer, you want to lock it down really tight, you could go only allow calls from this public IP, which is a custom site. So you could actually whitelist their IP address. Right. The other thing it has is if it set up rules here, it's got a default rule. So if someone tries, say you get a SIP hack and someone's trying to make it here, someone tries to make 5 registrations in 1 second, it's going to block them. Going to appear in this blocked IP list. We see this a lot with people ringing into the help desk. Oh, I can't get this phone registered. It's basically because they've done something wrong, and the phone's tried to register too many times. So they basically ended up in this blocked IP list, and they can't do anything until they clear this. So if there was an entry in here, there's a delete button at the end. You delete. And that resets it. So once again, it's going to go back to trying to qualify for this rule. If they've still got their registration wrong, it's going to go back in the block. So if you have trouble registering a handset or registering anything on site, big thing is come in here, look at this, make sure it's not there for whatever reason, and just delete it. All right, the other security things we have is allowed country IPs. So it does a geo block and normally sets this when you set up that first PABX build wizard that Nathan would have showed you and put you into Australia. But we can go enable. If we've got this enabled, we can then go, okay, I'm going to accept traffic coming in from anywhere in Argentina. Australia's on by default, so now I'm going to accept any traffic from Australia and Argentina. This is IP traffic, not phone calls. But can do like dialing protection. So trying to protect you from someone hitting your system and making outbound calls. So same thing, we can allow country region dialing protection on this. Default is allow Australia, but if I want it to be able to ring to Canada, all right, any questions?
Cool.
Nathan, what else you want to run through?
So what I was going to do was just from the system side, just add licenses, things like that. Also, I was going to do a quick one just with the web client, how we can log in admin and that by the sides. If you want me to.
Oh, okay. You want to do that?
Yeah, that's cool. Just give me that. Cool. Just let me log it back in. Cool, we got my screen. Yeah, we can see mine. All good. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so just back on when we've got licenses and things like that, I'll just quickly touch on how we add, if you've requested additional license, how we can resize the PABX to add your additional users on. So from your portal at the top, where you have your PABXs, as we were in before, we have the operations. In the more section, we have a resize capacity. Okay, so if you're put through a request for 4 more additional users and you want to, we'll attach them to your reseller account. you will then come and add them to which PABX it is. So if it was in this webinar, we could go into resize capacity. We can see it's 3 at the moment. So if we added another 2, that will become 5. Same with concurrent calls. If we were adding more minutes to the recording, we would add them here. Yeah. So I haven't allocated any or any to hours, but this is where we could add them. Then once you save it, it'll resize. What you can then see in capacity, it would then tell you extensions 5, concurrent 5. If it was minutes, it would update to that as well. And that's how we add your licenses to the current PABXs, okay? So when you get the request, they will be just going back, added to your reseller account. You then go and add them to your required PBXs. Cool, we all follow with that there? So that's the big one. So each time you put them through, we'll allocate to you, you allocate yourself. Very quickly, whilst we're in here in the more, you can see the upgrade plan. I don't have a license, but you can get the upgrade plan and add it to it. PABX type expiration date, we can change. Our administrator password, we can reset to our super admin. The restore of PABX, so if we did a backup, we could restore it to a certain point and obviously collapse it and delete the PBX. So that's just adding additional licenses to your PBX. Just going back where Cole was, where we went into the reports and into the maintenance, sorry, and things through there, what we can do. So obviously with the logs and troubleshooting and all the tools that we do have, what we can also do in using, where is my, this one? Using our Linkus client, so you're offsite or we're offsite, you want us to log in. We're in here, and this is me logged in as my extension. So you can see webinar 1000. I have everything down here, no other options. It's just a soft phone. What we can do within our extensions, we have the user role. So this is a very handy thing we can do. If we allocate the administrator role to this user, what will happen is it will allocate down the bottom here, access management portal. So you create a user on your system. So say a spare user, you give us the admin role, you give us the email and the password. We log in, we can come in as a soft phone, make calls, whereas an agent, no problems, that's all good. We can also go to access management portal. So we can then administer the system from this extension. So what this enables us to do is make a test call. We can go into the maintenance, we can run a trace, we can complete it. So a very handy tool for us to access your system if you're not giving passwordless login to the service provider, which is fine. You can allocate an administrator role to a spare user. They can still use their call. We can still make our calls. Everything still functions on their desk phones. The agent still works. Ideally, it's better to use one that's not a call center agent because they want to be using all their devices. We don't want to interrupt them whilst we make a call. But we can log in and make changes. Now, we don't have every single field to change, but we have more than enough to administer. So in extensions and trunks, we have all this here, but we can't change roles. There's no roles here. Whereas in here, you can see I've got roles from my admin level. Okay, so it's just the tool that enables us to do it. Expanding from that there, that's an administration and maintenance tool. So we could do that, but this is also an administrator of the system to give them this. Now, these roles are configured. What we can do is within roles, I could create, by default, these are here. You can go in and edit what permissions the defaults have. Okay. There's these ones already in here. We could create a new one. So this may be for an agent on your site that only wants to see reporting. Okay. So the reporting, we'll just call it reporting tools for easy on the eye. We can go through and pick what we have here. So these boxes are reflecting down the side here as to what we're going to allow them to have. Coming all the way through, you can see you've got reports and recording. You can give them all. You can break it down further. You could just give them recording files, core reports, external core chats. So if we give them all as an example, get granular, you can see everything's selected. If we save that and apply, we've created a new role, and you can do this for your agents. So you can give people permissions to just view what you want them to view. So for your front desk to go in and make changes to things, for your managers of your queues and things like that, you can allocate that to them. Now, from my Linkus, I'm still in as an administrator, as we can see. So what I could do is, against that extension, change them from administrator to reporting tools, save that. Don't forget the apply. Now, when you go in, I have my web client. So this is my soft phone, can make and do whatever I want to do with calls. In my management portal, I can now only see my reports and recording. So this is how we can assign them to agents, to managers, to administration users of the system, their levels of admin, their levels of view and access. So it can be an administrator system for changes, moves, adds, things like that. It can be a profile set to only see reports. It could be a profile set to see whatever other roles we wish to give them. So going back into the roles, if we were to add a new one, we can give them so they can do the changes to extensions and trunks. Do they want to change extension? Only do the contacts. Okay, bit higher level to change routes. Go into the call features, allow them to change. So we can be granular into what we want to give these agents, create these roles and assign them. So the default ones there, you can change administrator as one. I suggest leaving administrator with what it is, because that's administrator. But you can work with the supervisor, and you've got all the other ones down below. Delete the ones you don't want. Don't have a hotel manager, no problems. You can clean it up by not having the ones that you don't necessarily want for this PBX. We're doing this at the PBX level. So this is creating the logins and at the PBX level. One step up, if we have our systems and we want to create another login. So I have my reseller login here. You want to create another login for another user within your business, you can create another login through here, system, and in user, we've got colleagues. So you can see I've created all these test ones here, training. So they are colleagues that can log into our YCM at the reseller level, okay? So we don't create local logins to PBXs from our reseller level. We create them via our roles in our PBX. Anyone created as colleagues in here are done at our reseller level. So just explaining the two and where the logins are, because obviously a lot of people want to create logins locally. We don't create it at the reseller, we create it on the PBX. For your colleagues, you create it through here in user, my colleague. Okay. So yeah, just back on it. The beauty of what we can do with the administrator is we can have the soft phone and make and do calls. We can do testing for you and take care of it all. And you don't even need to, give us the access, we can come back. We can assist you that way as well. You can do this as well from site, but you have your logins, but this is what we can do. Okay. So that's where we were with that. So yeah, so adding a login, we can resize, delete, backup, restore. We have guides for you all here to do all these as well. Okay, we have the support side. So with that, what I will do is, let me just jump into the system. Okay, so through there, the PBX, I think from the PBX side, we've shown what we do with the system. As we said, this is the intro to high level to get you going, go into a bit more areas with the roles and with the groups and things like that. Right down the bottom here is your plan. Okay, so if you go into the plan, it's for just a bit of knowledge for you guys to see. You can see what's part of the enterprise and what's part of the ultimate. So you can have a look. Core Flow Designer is a new tool that's come along. We've got a webinar coming up on that soon, so we can go through what the Core Flow Designer is. You do need ultimate, AD integration, video calls and things like that. Yeah, remote archiving. So if you want to do archiving of your call recordings and things like that, you can see it's an ultimate license. And again, we'll be doing more with this shortly, but you can do that. But yeah, here we'll show you what each one does. Now, just going through, as we said on the system, from your reseller level, we have the white label. So at the moment, I'm the Yeastar branded. So everything I'm going in, we can see this here. We've got the Yeastar branding all through the PBX. If you're going into white label, you will have access to the white label field. It will populate like this by default. Okay, so this is, well, not by default, by your table to complete, sorry, I should say. This is how we remove the default branding within here. Going back to right back to the beginning, it will not change the mobile icon, nor will it change the PC application icon. We can give it a brand. So name of the PBX, name of the company, okay, company information, what you want your product name to be. So an IUC, whichever you want to call it. This is from your reseller level. This is me doing my training one, so it wouldn't be that, sorry, it would be, okay, because I'm doing it from my top. All subsequent PBXs follow this. It's not broken down into each PBX. So we're doing this from our reseller to our PBXs. The data processing agreement, so by default, it's there, okay? If you go in and custom, you can custom this, please review. Legal, need to make sure for legalities, so whatever you're doing here, that's your data processing agreement. Privacy policy, so this is what they will see part of your agreements when we send these emails out. So again, in here, this is what's in by default. To edit, you can go into custom, change. Okay, whichever you need to change, what you need to do. Again, this is your privacy policy agreement, so make sure everything's in there you agree with. Confirm. You come into your logos, so it gives you the sizing requirements all through. So for a rectangular logo, and you can see over here the preview login. So once this is up, okay, so I have okay, once you select, let you review, confirm. It's loaded there, and you can see over on the preview, it's showing you where it will be, what it will look like. Okay, complete the logos. I've only got a couple here, guys, so it's just there. Something just to demonstrate how and what we can do. Okay. So the login page illustration goes there. You can see square logo populates up to here. You got your Comms Plus logo, which goes onto here. Okay, you got a welcome message. So when you look up here, webinar, welcome message. Okay. So it starts to show you that that's what it would change to. You've got your copyright information, so that's down here. Okay. So you see it changes down here. Your email signature, so welcome emails, things like that. Here's your signature. Populates down there and it shows you. Then down here, once you've added and done and you're happy with everything, down the bottom here, you've got update immediately and it tells you, okay? So it goes to those PBXs or they will be auto rebooted as well. So it takes your changes and then sends it out, reboots all your PBXs to take these changes, okay? So bear in mind, if you drop it straight away, this is it. Ideally, this is all done before you've done all your PBXs. So you go into white label, we do all that, and then away you go. You can also do update later and you can go through there, change. Yeah. So save it, then come back and do it. So you do update immediately, it goes through. I won't because of the interest of time, but then this will then just populate through to everything for you. Okay. So that's your white label and that's how you set up. Again, just coming back to these two, just highlighting they are the agreements that go out to them. So the information's in there. Please review it and make sure it applies and complies. And there you go. Cool. So yes, for all of those that come doing onto the white label, that's how you set it all in there. And again, it's done from your reseller level. So it's there and then set to all your subsequent PABXs. We don't do a PABX per PABX. Once it's done, once you deploy, that's what goes across to all your PABXs. Okay. So for your business, out to all. Alrighty. So I think from me, Cole, unless there's anything else you can think you want me to hit through, I'm sort of got all of that. Is there anything else I should be circling back on?
No, just if anyone's got any questions.
Yeah, questions. I think obviously just highlighting we do have some more coming up soon. I think we're going to start sending some dates out, which will go into more in depth, higher level, like more technical level of the trunks and what we can do. There's the core flow designer, which we'll be going through. I think we've got more into the messaging and voicemail and prompts and things like that that we can go into. I think, yeah, so if there's any questions that we can go through, does anyone have? Does anyone else want me to show them anything again that we've got? Or if not, I think we can leave everyone to their Friday. Cool. On that, as I said from the beginning of today, the presentation that we've gone through is in the chat part of this. If no one has it, please shoot us a message. We can email that out. I think we can try and email it out later, but yeah, it's in the chat to download. So go for it, download it. Any issues, let us know and we can send it out. But if that is it, I have nothing else. Cole, if you have nothing else, I'll let everyone go back to their Friday.
Okay, cool.
Cool. All right. Thank you all for attending. Any questions, reach out to us. Everyone's got logins to our thing, but yeah, enjoy.
Thank you.